What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Football Diary, talking all the current NFL stories. And in today's video, what we wanted to talk about is the Denver Broncos. So before we even give any of our thoughts, we kind of want to hear your thoughts on the Denver Broncos. And as always, let us any teams, players, comparisons, anything like that you want us to do. We can definitely talk about it in a video. But a lot of player comparisons, we're waiting until the season starts, and then we can really compare how they're playing this year rather than kind of a prediction in player versus player debates. But we have a couple players that we do want to talk about that with. Just waiting a little bit, but Teddy Bridgewater was announced as the Broncos starting quarterback, and we figured it was a good time to talk about them because I think they're definitely being overlooked by a lot of people, and especially a lot of people in the AFC, including myself. I'm a big Ravens fan. I don't think a lot about the Broncos, but this is a team that is very interesting when you analyze, and it really begs the question because there's a good chance that they're in the playoff hunt and could very well make the playoffs. And we want to talk about that. We want to talk about their roster. So, Matt, what do you want to talk about first on this roster?
Well, I think first off, we need to talk about quarterback because that's the big news that just happened for the Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater was named the starter over Drew Lock, and anybody that watched Drew Lock last year knows that he struggled a lot. Now, with that said, there was a lot of positive reports about Drew Lock, a lot of reasons to believe that he had improved a lot in camp. However, the veteran quarterback Teddy, I heard the best name for him. Basically, something check down Teddy or whatever. But he ends up making the roster. It's the safe move, and for this Broncos team, I think it puts him in a spot where I know there's going to be a lot of people that believe the Chargers are the second best team in the AFC West, but I think with Teddy Bridgewater starting at quarterback, that the Broncos should be expected to be that second place team. I still think it's close, but that's how high I am on this Broncos roster. And it's one of those things, if you just look at it for a little bit, you're going to be like, wow, there's a lot of really, really high-end talent on this team. Most notably on the defensive line, Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, two studs. The rest of their defensive line isn't crazy. They do have Shelby Harris, who I think his best days are probably past him, but he's still a very solid interior defensive end. But then the biggest part is when you the secondary, and there are dudes all across the field. At safety, it's Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons. And then at corner, they just drafted Pat Surtain. We were just talking about him in yesterday's video, actually, as potentially him being the best corner in that rookie class this season. Then there's Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, Bryce Callahan. That's four really legit safeties that they have. They also drafted Jamar Johnson, who was out of Indiana, I want to say,
Yep.
right? Safety. And so he's going to be one of their depth safeties. But I really love the talent in this secondary. And then along with that, you have two elite pass rushers, two of the top pass rushers in the game. So I expect the Vic Fangio defense to be absolutely money this year. And if Teddy doesn't turn the ball over, look at his receiving threats. Now, I think you can look at the Panthers and go, hey, he had some really good guys in Carolina. Well, I think this mirrors that. It's pretty similar. I think Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy as the 1-2 is pretty nasty. Noah Fant is still developing, still becoming, he's a top half of the tight end in the league, but I think he's just getting better and better. Then at receiver, they also have Tim Patrick, who's pretty underrated, kind of forgotten about, very solid piece. KJ Hamler, really intriguing player. He's incredibly fast. And then at running back, they have, a main two guys in Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, but their other running back is also Royce Freeman, who's a pretty solid player in his own. I really like the Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams combo. I think that they'll work to go really well. I don't know. I just look at this team and I see so much talent. I see Vic Fangio, who's a head coach that is absolutely just forgotten about, and he's an amazing defensive mind. He's one of the best defensive minds in the game. Pat Shurmur is their offensive coordinator. I think there's probably some question marks around, some of his past offenses, but if their offense just doesn't turn the ball over and just if Teddy can just get the ball into the hands of these weapons, they have a great chance to put up a lot of points, to kill the clock with their run game, because their offensive line, including the biggest guy that highlighted this was Garrett Bowles. Their offensive line was really good last year, actually, and that kind of gets forgotten about as well. Garrett Bowles made tremendous strides, and he's a lot better player. So if he can keep that up and they keep improving as an offensive line, they're going to have one of the better groups in the league. The names don't jump at you a ton, but they did perform really well last year. So you start looking at these guys and you go, well, where are the weaknesses in this team? Maybe the interior defensive line a little bit, but it's not like horrendous or anything. And then at linebacker, it's Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell. Alexander Johnson, he's shown some flashes from time to time. He's a pretty solid player, but like, don't love Josie Jewell. Don't like think those are like super high end guys, but they have the pieces on the defense to have a really elite defense in 2 pass rushers and a tremendous secondary. So this is gonna be a really hard team to throw on. It's gonna be a very hard team to move the chains on third down. So if their defense can get the opponents into third and medium, third and long situations, they're going to absolutely flourish. So I'm pretty high on them going into this year. I think that they should be over 500, and I really think they should compete for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think, you brought up a lot of great points. One of the most underrated players on this roster is Justin Simmons. One of the best. I think he's definitely a top 5 safety in the NFL. The dude is an absolute stud. And then you pair him with I would say that the strength of this team is their secondary, which is kind of crazy to say when you look at Bradley Chubb and you look at Von Miller. However, just they got so many playmakers on that side of the ball that when you have great pass rush and you have great secondary pieces, it becomes almost impossible to pass. Because typically when you see a team, they have, they either have very good secondary or they have like a really good pass rush and they're able to help out the other unit. They're going to be helping each other out a ton. The corners are going to lock down the players, and it'll allow the coverage sacks to come from Vaughn and Bradley Chubb. And then there will be plenty of situations where Vaughn and Bradley Chubb beat their man off the line and they have to throw a quick pass. Nobody's open, and they end up throwing an interception, or, just big plays are able to happen on critical downs. And that's something that you can really look at with this team. But one of the other important aspects when you look at this team is they have one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. Just absolutely. They play in Denver. Very difficult place to play. One of the toughest places to play in is in Denver. And then you look at their schedule, and it is, before we did this video, I was like, I got to make sure the schedule is not, too horrendous, because I really like the roster, really like what they're working with. However, sometimes you look at the schedule and you're like, oh, they play a lot of tough teams. So first off, you look at their division. Obviously, the Chiefs are a tough matchup for any team. However, divisional opponents, you can play them a little bit better, but Chiefs are a very tough win. Chargers are definitely a good game to watch. I'm not a Chargers or I'm not a Broncos fan, but I'm going to be tuning into those games whenever they're on because they're going to be a lot of fun. Raiders, they suck. They're the Raiders. I don't know. I don't really have much praise I ever give out to the Raiders. They're just a wild card every single season. I don't like the moves they did. I don't
know about wild card. They're just not good.
Yeah. Yeah, not a wild card in the fact that like wild card team, just wild card and like maybe they'll be like a meh team, like Derek Carr plays really well, or it's like, oh, they're garbage, like normal. That's what I mean by wild card. I never think of the Raiders as a playoff team. Don't misquote me. But looking at the schedule that they play, I can go over it right now. They get to play the NFC East, which is the best division if you want to play a division. Giants, Cowboys, Eagles, football team. There's some tough teams in that. Like football team, they're tough to beat, but they're not going to have an amazing record. The Giants, not that tough. The Cowboys.
Also, the football team is a very similarly built team.
Yes.
Like these two teams are probably the most similar teams in the league.
Absolutely.
Like just to each other.
Defense. Yes.
Yeah.
They play defense. And then they try and be conservative on offense. And that's why I love Teddy Bridgewater starting for them, is because they have, that really solid defense. If they don't turn the ball over, Teddy moves the ball slowly down the field methodically. That's how they're going to win football games. And then they get to play the Jets. And they get to play the Bengals. And they get to play, the Raiders twice, but they also get to play Detroit. Those are some of the worst teams in the NFL that they get to match up against, and that is massive for them. So, they get to start off this year with a relatively easy schedule, with Giants, Jacksonville, and the Jets, and that's just a great way to build momentum. Fortunately, they have to play the Ravens, very tough game. Pittsburgh, tough. Then they get to play the Raiders, and I just think that overall, when you look at it, this is a team with a very opportunistic situation that they can take full advantage of. And that's why I love the Teddy Bridgewater selection. If they had a very tough schedule, I probably would have gone with Drew Lock, just because He's going to take a little bit more risks and he could get them past a couple games. But with Teddy, the goal is to not lose the game. And with a defense like that and the players that they have on offense, you need a quarterback that's just trying not to lose. Now, it would be nice to bring down prime John Elway and take this team to the promised land, but I'm sorry, that's not going to be able to happen anytime soon. So, overall, what they got to do is they got to be conservative and wait for a quarterback to fall to them. One day, John will get it right. One day, or he'll be fired, and then, somebody else will get it right for him because he is not it when it's comes to judging quarterbacks. But, I think this Teddy Bridgewater call is the right call. So, I don't know. I'm a big fan. I think they absolutely could contend with the Chargers. That's going to be an interesting battle to watch. If both teams are healthy, they're both going to be very interesting. Chargers are going to be very explosive, kind of, high potent, everything like that. Broncos are going to be fundamental, win a slow, methodical game. And it's going to be a great, game to watch and really two different styles of football. So I love this. I love this roster. I think they really could surprise a lot of people, especially people that aren't from, Denver. I think Denver fans would, think, oh yeah, this is the year. But they've probably been saying that every year under every new quarterback they've had. Sorry, Broncos fans.
I definitely get the frustration for all the Broncos fans out there because it's been brutal at quarterback. It's been rough. But I do think Teddy's a good step in the right direction. Potentially also, you're talking about, maybe they'll have a quarterback fall, then they'll nail the quarterback. Potentially Aaron Rodgers going to Denver. I think that is a possibility. He's a free agent at the end of the year, right? I know that we all think he's going to retire, but this is a really good team. He's going to recognize that. If they look good and they make the playoffs this year, I think that could be something that turns into a storyline down the road. So maybe keep an eye on that. I know that he's been was rumored there a lot, but
I think to add in, I believe Andrew Luck was at a high school or a college in Colorado recently and asked them if he could play scout team quarterback in practice with them. So former first round pick, number 1 overall Colts quarterback going to Denver at some point in his career. Maybe. Pretty unlikely. But that would be hilarious if they got Elway, Manning, and Luck, all number 1 overall picks to go from Indianapolis to Denver. But there's definitely good guys that they can bring in the free agent market that'll be up. And even guys like Darnold and things like that, where we don't know if they're going to get extended. Jameis Winston, I don't know, just guys, a lot of guys that they can definitely bring in. Or maybe Teddy's the beast and he stays.
But I don't know. I wouldn't bank on that. I wouldn't bank that Teddy's going to be on the fact that Teddy could be a beast. I think Teddy's going to be solid. I think he'll operate the offense, but I wouldn't be asking for too much more. I am excited for this team, though. And you brought the schedule. Any Broncos fans that are listening, you guys remember the schedule last year. It was atrocious to start the year. It was the most criminal schedule, the first half of the season. And I remember I have quite a few friends that are Broncos fans. And it was just we were looking at the schedule all right, you guys just got to win a couple games to start the year because you're going to get hot at the end with all these top end teams you're playing right away. So this year's a lot different. Probably should start out 3-0. So I really like this team. Anyone listening, if you guys do like this team, if you don't like this team, tell us what about the team you like, what about the team you don't like, maybe the questions, concerns, maybe some strengths that we didn't really mention. Maybe we glossed over the linebacker position a little bit too much, and you're like, hey, there's a guy here that I think can be, really good, kind of has been forgotten about. So anything like that, let us know. But that's it for me. Yeah. Anything else you got, Makana?
I just think people that are questioning, Teddy Bridgewater, is he too conservative? I need you to look at one team in particular. Case Keenum on the Minnesota Vikings. Okay. He went out there uber conservative. Okay. But he knew that Vikings roster was going to be able to take them far. And they did. I mean, that's the ceiling. That is the gold standard of what they're trying to do is emulate that. And then they were like, okay, we can finally bring in a quarterback. Unfortunately, they brought in Kirkland, who's not very good, but the framework was there. They were like, okay, let's go with a cautious quarterback that's going to be able to just control the ball and let the defense be great and utilize the weapons at wide receiver.
Wasn't the Vikings real quarter their first string quarterback?
Sam Bradford?
No, it was Teddy.
Oh, it might have been Teddy.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's perfect. That's funny. Yeah. Teddy Bridgewater again. Could he be part of that type of team? We shall see. But I think that's it for us. Let us know in the comment section down below what you think. But thank you everybody for watching. Subscribe for current football news, and we'll get back to the historical stuff eventually. We're working on that stuff. But thank you everybody, and we'll see all of you again next time.